Flawless victory.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on Ghost of Tsushima. This is a guide for a really fun and interesting build that I created after playing through most of the game using Gosaku's armor and just focusing on doing increased stagger and melee damage. I was basically fighting a lot without using much of the Ghost arsenal, and as the game neared its end, I kinda grew tired of it. This build is pretty much the complete opposite, and it's quickly become my favorite way to play the game since trying it out. The idea behind this build is trying to do something that really encapsulates the concept of the Ghost of Tsushima. By Act 3, people are talking about a giant demon with flaming eyes ripping apart the Mongols. The Ghost has become the stuff of legends, capable of eviscerating enemy encampments and caravans in seconds. So this build is all about the theatrics, about the unconventional weapons, about smoke bombs, flaming arrows, flaming swords, and just using everything at your disposal to never actually engage in combat. But before you run away, this isn't a stealth build, not at all. You only use stealth to get a jump on your opponents, but the idea is to have as many enemy soldiers witness the carnage as possible. Being the Ghost is about striking fear into your enemies. It's like a Batman thing. This is about dropping in from the sky and taking down 6 enemies before anyone has the chance to react to what's going on, and then watching them cower on the ground because they know that they'll be next. I think you'll find this extremely satisfying, so let's take a look. But before moving on, yes, I am aware that my horse is the worst. I was tired and I had a window reflecting on the screen when I had to pick the horse. I thought I picked the black one, but I didn't. So there you go. Now I'm stuck with this like gray spotted looking thing that I really don't like. Okay. Of course, we'll be using the Ghost armor, because otherwise the whole concept is like pretty much lost. Ghost armor will reduce the amount of enemies that you need to trigger Ghost stance to only 5, and with chain assassinations providing 3 kills, you will be using this a lot. If you use your bow to kill 1 or 2 enemies, you're basically 1 chain assassination away from getting the Ghost stance. The second perk the armor provides to the build is the 30% chance to terrify a nearby enemy when performing any kill. This is the foundation of the whole thing and is the cornerstone that's gonna get magnified a lot by a bunch of charms that I will go over in a minute. Lastly, the reduction of detection speed essentially makes it so you can run up to an enemy and perform a stealth kill with very little concern for actually being stealthy, which speeds up the whole gameplay significantly. This makes clearing camps where, those where you have to prevent hostages from getting killed, it just makes those an absolute breeze. In terms of looks, I topped this off with this silly looking hat that I think just looks cool and makes you wonder how the hell Jin even sees his enemies, and it just adds to the whole mystery of the Ghost. I'm also using the black dye from the Black Dye Merchant and black swords, which you can find here and here if you want to pick those up. Now let's go over the charms. First, I have the charm of Ikazuchi no Kami. This makes it 25% more likely for enemies to be terrified by anything you do, and this is bumped way higher by 2 charms of fortune, effectively doubling this. So now let's do the math. You get a 30% chance of terrifying enemies with each kill with the Ghost armor, but that's increased by 25% by Ikazuchi and then by another 50% twice by the charms of fortune. So now your chances of terrifying an enemy whenever you kill somebody are around 85%. But that's not all. To really take this to the extreme, I'm adding the charm of Fire Doctrine, which makes it so any burning enemies have a 15% chance of terrifying nearby enemies, and the charm of Enduring Affliction to make them burn longer and take more damage. Charm of Incineration is the cherry on top, as it turns your black powder bombs into fire bombs, which makes enemies catch on fire. So you see, now pretty much anything you do will make people scared, especially if it involves fire. So fire arrows, fire sword, black powder bombs, all of those are now incredibly OP. However, I don't find myself using the black powder bombs all that often, so feel free to change this to whatever else you like additional damage for ghost weapons, or pretty much anything else. I will provide a list on the video description of how and where to get these charms, so take a look there, because going over them in the video I think would not only make it very tedious, but I would also have to talk about quests that I can't mark on the map, so yeah, that wouldn't make too much sense. Now, you pretty much get all of this in Act 3, which I think kind of makes sense in terms of the lore behind this build, since it's the culmination of the Ghost. This is Jin at his absolute peak, having abandoned the samurai code almost entirely and focusing on being as fast, deadly, and ruthless as absolutely possible. This is the legend, the ninja Batman assassin that you were destined to become. It's also the anti-standoff build. By Act 3, standoffs were starting to get pretty repetitive. You know, don't get me wrong, they are awesome, but you should never engage in standoffs with this build, because by the time that the cutscene starts and you hold triangle, you could have already destroyed an entire campsite with the way this plays. Trust me, you'll be surprised at how fast you can take down groups of enemies and how fast larger groups evaporate, because even the dogs are running away scared. Now, you might be bummed that you don't get to take down every single guy because they are running away, but the way that increases gameplay speed so much, you know, you'll be hopping in from one encounter to the next faster than ever before. And the cool thing is that you can be stealthy or you can jump straight in the middle of the action, whatever you want, because as long as you use your sticky bombs, your chain assassinations, fire arrows, incendiary oil, ghost stance, and so on, you can take on as many enemies as fast as you want. You want to jump straight in the middle of 15 enemy soldiers? No problem, you'll just take them out immediately. The way I engage typically is try to group enemies together using a firecracker for a chain assassination, but you do want the alarm to be raised, so don't be too stealthy. So, you know, you can use a black powder bomb if you want. As I mentioned earlier, you want the enemies to witness the carnage and get scared. You want as big an audience as possible. If you find yourself facing actual combat, go into ghost stance, or in case the meter's not yet full, drop a smoke, do some stealth assassinations, black powder bomb or sticky bomb to create even more chaos, you know, whatever you want, fire arrows. One thing I really like to do is setting the sword on fire and then using Dance of Wrath to strike several different enemies. That will set them on fire and cause a bunch of them to run away scared, so it's all like a cascading effect. Seriously, I'm having a blast playing like this, and my only regret is that I didn't start using it sooner. If you're looking to finish those side quests and get 100% completion after the main story, this will make it happen as fast as possible, with the exception of duels. For duels, I would recommend switching to something more focused on stagger and melee damage, because this build provides absolutely no benefits for those encounters. In terms of skills, I have all the skills unlocked by now, but the ones you really want for this to work are pretty much all the mythic combat arts, since those have a chance at terrifying enemies, chain assassination leveled up to the max, and both ghost stances. That's pretty much the bare minimum for this to play as intended. If you don't have all the charms that I mentioned, then focus on getting the charm of Ikasuchi first, which you get from the Crane Mountain Shrine on Act 3, and getting at least one Charm of Fortune, which you can get from the 8th quest in the Ishikawa Tale, and the Charm of Incineration from another side quest in Act 3. Once you get all of those, you're pretty much ready to try this out. Alright guys, let me know what you think of this, and if you have any ideas or suggestions on how to make this better, then please leave a comment. I would love to see what you guys enjoy using, and I'm also planning on maybe building another build guide for something that plays the complete opposite of this, you know, a purely samurai build for those that really enjoy the combat part of the game. Okay guys, as always, thanks for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.